Pat, everybody. Welcome to BO Boys for Thursday, December 15th. Fuck it. It's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. And Clayton, we got probably the biggest movie of the year coming out, a sequel to one of the biggest movies of all time. At one point, Avatar was the biggest movie box office wide of all time, worldwide biggest box office movie ever. And now, after all these years, after 13 years, the sequel to Avatar is coming out. Avatar Way of Water is here. It is coming out right now. And for a movie this big, we had to bring in a guest that was equally as big, equally as important, a return that has been anticipated equally as much as the Avatar sequel. He is here. Danny Escamilaggi, the host of I Scream, You Scream for number four movies, is here. Danny, welcome back to the BO Boys.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Pat and Clay, for having me once again. This is exciting, and right around the end of the year, this is very huge for James Cameron's biggest comeback of theatrical business, right where it's supposed to be on the biggest screen possible. And we're talking The Way of Water straight off the bat on a Rocky.
This is huge. So, I mean, the last time you were here, we were talking Top Gun Maverick. We only bring you in when there's a movie deserving of your talents, and that is what Avatar Way of Water is. So, Clayton, here's where I want to start on this is where we each are just on Avatar, where we each saw it. What is our memory of this phenomenon? So, Clayton, I'll start with you. Did you see the original Avatar in the movie theater? And what do you remember about the phenomenon that was 2009's Avatar?
I never saw it in the theater, and I still have not seen it.
Wow.
Ever.
Wow.
Because it's just not my thing. But
wow.
As a BO boy, even before this before this podcast started, I was always a BO boy. So of course I was following this amazing BO. And listen, I'm a James Cameron fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'd seen every other movie he's ever done. And for some reason, this just did not entice me. So I didn't see it, but I was rooting for our boy, James Cameron, who people said couldn't do it again, wouldn't do it again, and he did it again. And so I was very excited when this became the number one movie ever, domestically and internationally, for a very long time.
So never saw it, but was excited at its success. I think that's fair. Danny, when this came out in 2009, I imagine you were probably too young to see Avatar in the theaters. You are, of course, our youngster. You are our link along with Wannabe Oh Boy Austin and Wannabe Oh Intern Christopher. You're part of our new generation of BO. You're a youngster. In 2009, were you aware of the Avatar phenomenon?
Not at all until I got older and I remembered how a phenomenon it was from like the start, as I got into movie going pretty much only from the small start of it. And I know Avatar was like a film that I would want to see, but I've been a little lazy on seeing it way before, only because it felt so odd that watching it at home is just not where the magic experience is at. And I had to wait years later as I got older into movie going, and they finally re-released this movie right around as this new one comes out. I figure it was the perfect opportunity to go see it and just do this review on my podcast, which I did. Go check it out if anyone's interested. And yeah, I dabbled a lot in Avatar and how I loved it.
So when you finally saw the Avatar re-release, which was a stroke of genius by the studio, re-releasing this movie a couple of months ago at a time when box office was down in the fall, you saw this in the theater. You're a youngster. Were you blown away by the Avatar experience when you finally saw it in, what was it, this past October?
September.
It came out? September. So were you blown away? Did you see it in 3D? What format did you see it?
I saw it in 3D, yes. It was a mind-blowing, stunning action. It was so well relieved how I experienced it. It's like almost every part of the movie is like the best thing on the screen. It's just so good. When it comes to the Pandora world, it's breathless. Nothing changes.
And nothing changes because that reaction doesn't change. That is the way you described it, Danny, that every scene is the best scene and it was mind-blowing. You say that as a youngster in 2022, and that is what people were saying in 2009. Guys, I'm going to just go through, look at this box office run for Avatar, the original, in December 2009. It opens December 18th. It's a $77 million. Looked at as slightly disappointing of an opening. You know, coming off of this is, guys, the last movie was Titanic, opened at 77 million, and box office analysts at that time were thinking, this thing might not be so hot. Following weekend, 75 million. It only dropped 2%.
Yeah. Actually, 1.9%, if I'm not mistaken, or 1.0% drop. That's what I last time checked Box Office Mojo. That's for sure. It was a small ass drop. It's because of the word of mouth.
Incredible. And then you look at these holds. Third weekend, it made 68 million. Fourth weekend, it makes 50 million. Then 42 million. Then 34. Then 31. 22. 23. 16. 13. That is a run from December through February. That is incredible. 8 million, 6 million, 4 million. Those holds are legendary. And those are just the weekends. I mean, what Avatar was making during those weekdays during the holidays is incredible. The story of the original Avatar, which I think is going to play into maybe our box office predictions for this weekend, but the story of the original Avatar is months and months of incredible holds. And I remember I saw this not opening weekend. I was someone who probably didn't see it until the third weekend or so. And it was a packed house third weekend. And I think that is the story of this movie, is that the word of mouth was incredible. And I mean, I feel like that word of mouth is going to continue all the way into the sequel.
Yeah, I mean, this original movie created an appetite for 3D movies because you saw a wave of 3D films being released after Avatar, but none of them really doing what Avatar did with the 3D technology. So that kind of went to the wayside. It's coming back for this. And a big thing about this opening weekend, when we're talking money, is dollars per ticket, right? How expensive is a ticket going to be? And right now, the average ticket for Avatar is going to be more than a regular movie because you're going to have IMAX 3D, you're going to have regular 3D.
Yeah.
You're going to have all these different
high frame
rate. Absolutely. Yes. So all these different forms that are going to have a higher ticket price. So that is going to play into what it makes this opening weekend. Yeah. You have to keep that in mind.
I mean, for this movie, you could charge Broadway ticket prices for Avatar Way of Water opening weekend because the people who were dying to see it, they've been dying to see this movie for 13 years. You know, this movie doesn't just have fans. This movie has people. I mean, that's the thing you kept hearing in the original run. People kept saying they kept going back because they wanted to live in that world.
It has acolytes. It doesn't have fans. Yes. It has acolytes.
Yes. It has people who want to be tenants of this movie. They want to live in the movie. Danny, when you saw the movie this past fall, did you want to live in the world of Avatar? Did you have any thought walking out of here where it's like, man, I wish I could live with the blue people? Or did you just think it was a really great movie and now you want to go home and hang out with your friends?
Yeah, the second option, actually. It was a really great movie. I went to see it with a friend who actually saw it before. And it was a huge pleasure going with a friend like that who also saw it, but showed me how the experience was. And man, it was a killer experience. I did not complain 1 second on that film. It was too good.
And again, that is huge that the voice of the young people, Danny, saw this movie for the first time in 2022 and came out of it that blown away. I think the young generation word of mouth is going to be huge. And then the people who saw it 13 years ago, they've been keeping themselves alive just for this sequel. There is a contingent of people who have been hanging on by a thread so they could live to see this movie in the theaters.
The thing with a movie as big as the original Avatar and other huge movies, I mean, Maverick that we just saw this year as well,
Mm-hmm.
or Endgame, Titanic, going back to a Cameron joint, you have to get people that don't normally go see movies to have a movie be this big.
Yep.
And those people are vocal, they're non-vocal majorities in a
Mm-hmm.
sense that they don't go on Twitter and talk about things. They don't
Mm-hmm.
talk about movies. They're not in the mix when it comes to movie culture. But when a big movie like this shows up, they show up. And I think that's the demographic that's not being counted here is
Yep.
all those people that aren't talking about movies ever. The same people who only buy one book every 5 years when a book is as big as something like Da Vinci Code. That's
Right.
what Avatar is, right?
Right.
And I will just say, I never saw the original, as I stated previously, and I was not going to see this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I had no interest until I started reading reviews. I started hearing from certain people that I respect, and they said this movie is better than the original, is a technical marvel, and how could I not go see something like that on the biggest screen possible in the greatest city in the world? It would seem ludicrous.
Yeah.
Now, if they're getting me to go, who else are they getting to go to this movie?
Right. Right. So here's the big news flash. Clayton has a ticket to see this movie.
Mm-hmm.
The BO boys are seeing this movie. Danny is very excited about that. Danny, do you currently have a ticket to see Avatar Way of Water opening weekend?
As of right now, unfortunately not this weekend, but I might go see with a friend this weekend before 100% on Monday, December 19th, after the weekend. I'm seeing it in high frame rate 3D at my local theater. And it's going to be an amusing experience how I can never see a high frame rate movie before. And I literally researched what high frame rate is. It literally is a format they shot this movie for 48 frames of 24 frames per second, which is usually standard. So I'm very excited to see the world Pandora and not just the glory of 3D, but like in high frame rates. And frame rates is what I'm usually picky at when it comes to video games. So I can't wait.
Wasn't The Hobbit? Was that was the one that The Hobbit was shot in?
Correct.
Yeah. That was a high frame rate release. And listen, I don't think people love that, but this is James Cameron, and he is someone you've got to just fully trust. And he's someone who somehow, when his movies open, there are always these doubters. You know, people didn't think Terminator 2 would be worthy of being a big summer movie for Schwarzenegger because the first Terminator was just a little genre film. And that movie was one of the biggest movies ever. Titanic, famously, when that opened, everyone was predicting would be a disaster and an all-time money loser, end his career. Goes on to be the biggest movie of all time at that point, win all the Oscars. Then, even after Titanic, Avatar in 2009, when that was about to be released, people thought this was going to be a disaster. And then Avatar ends up, at the time, the biggest movie of all time. So I think looking into this opening weekend, how could you possibly doubt James Cameron? Even if you're one of those people, who I was one of, who saw Avatar in the theater, and then I tried watching it on cable years later and was like, this movie stinks. I don't want to watch this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's James Cameron. We cannot keep underestimating this guy. At some point, we have to estimate him correctly and just say this movie is going to be bigger than everyone is saying it is.
Well, but here's the thing. Even if it opens at the current tracking,
okay,
which is currently at, well, this is according to Box Office Pro, which we use all the time, is an opening weekend of 145 to 179. That's the current tracking. Right. They have it pegged at 161. Now, that may seem low in comparison to, say, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which opened to 187 this year in May, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, which opened at 181 just this past November. That may seem low.
Mhm.
But the difference is what you mentioned earlier, Pat, these drops. This is not going to have the kind of drop that Doctor Strange did or Black Panther did. This is going to be a movie that word of mouth, it's going to continue. It's going to get those people that don't go the first weekend. It's going to have legs. So even if it opens lower than these films,
Mhm.
it's going to do a Top Gun Maverick, where Top Gun Maverick is the top 5 domestic earners of all time, and it opened to 125.
Right, right. But I still
126, I'm sorry, 126.
I totally agree. The story of Avatar Way of Water is going to be the holds. It's going to be the fact that it's going to do crazy business during those Christmas weeks when everyone's home. Great drops, all of that. But I still, and we'll give our previews, our predictions for what it's going to do. I also still think this weekend is going to be above what everyone's predicting. I'm going to toss to you, Danny. What is the word on the street, the excitement level amongst young people for this movie? Did the re-release get youngsters excited? What are you feeling? What are you hearing out there amongst the young people? Are they excited for Way of Water?
Not to anyone particularly, but a friend I went with to see the re-release before is excited. He's actually going to go see it tomorrow night with his girlfriend. And
Wow.
could have said that he might still go see it again with me this time, as long as he doesn't spoil, which I'm okay with that either way. So, not. Oh my God, that's a question like that. If Top Gun has like the question, if they care about Top Gun for young generation, what about the youngs to Avatar, the young
Right.
ones? That's the question. Also, that's going to also be tested when it comes to word of mouth. That is.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I feel like that re-release is definitely going to have helped get the word out and the excitement level up for the young people. And this is a movie.
The big call. Sorry, not to interrupt,
Yeah,
Pat, but what they're saying, the reason why people are low on this is because they're saying Avatar does not have a cultural footprint.
uh,
That's the big thing, right? That since the first one came out, it hasn't been everywhere. I think that's a benefit for this.
I think so
Because,
too.
listen, the reason we don't have stars anymore is because all these young stars, quote unquote, people who want to be stars, are everywhere. We can go to
Right,
their
right,
Instagram. We can see them all the time. They're doing YouTube videos. They're doing all this stuff. They're overexposed. They're not special.
right. They're selling tequila.
Exactly. People want special things. They want once in a lifetime things. That is why I think Avatar not being everywhere for the last 13 years, the last decade, is a positive for
Yeah,
this.
yeah. There's a benefit to there not having been 7 different Disney Plus series based on the Avatar property. It is just
Yes.
a movie. The only way you could see Way of Water or see Avatar again is you reach into your wallet, you pull out some greenbacks, and you buy a ticket to the movie. Daddy putting his fingers up in the money sign there.
yeah,
He knows.
Yeah.
Even the youngsters, they know what the universal sign for money is, and it's touching the tips of your fingers. That's what money is. And I agree. I think the scarcity of Avatar is going to make the opening weekend big. And to me, the projections are low because right now it's all the people buying up tickets for the PLFs. They're buying, first thing you get the IMAXs and the 3Ds. But then I think come Saturday, the walk up for this movie is going to be nuts because that's when people are going to finally be like, well, the only way I could see it today is see it in 2D. So I'll see it in 2D first. And I think the walk ups this weekend are going to be huge because once the PLF sell out, people are just going to bite the bullet and fill up those 2D screenings.
Yeah.
totally.
So, yeah, I mean, this movie is also so interesting because it is a movie that is going to be gigantic, and there are pretty much no movie stars in it. Is Sigourney Weaver back in this
Yes.
movie?
Yes.
Yes, yes, as a different character, not like the same character from the last movie, but as of her and Kate Winslet, sorry if I said her name right, are like the two of the biggest stars right now, and Zoe Zendaya for sure. Sandata. I just said her name wrong. Wow, we're on feed.
Zoe Saldana.
Saldana, thank you.
Okay, she's in it.
Yeah.
Kate
So
Winslet is in it. I see Vin Diesel listed as being in it, so I'm guessing
Not,
he's
no, I don't think so. When I checked, he's not in the movie for sure.
okay.
I really thought he was, but turns out it was
here's the
nothing.
top cast on IMDb: Sam Worthington, which we all know does 0 for this.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Zoe Saldana, Sigourney Weaver, Kate Winslet, as mentioned before, Stephen Lang, of course, of Don't Breathe fame.
Yes.
Oh, he's from that movie. Oh my God, I
Yes.
So
forgot about that
he's
guy.
gotten a burst, then a bump in popularity because those Don't
Well,
Breathe movies.
he was in the original Avatar.
Yeah, but I'm saying in the time since then, those Don't Breathe movies has upped his fame, so that's good for this.
And nobody else really of note.
Okay.
Those are the closest things to big actors in this film. But
So
of
they got
course,
Worthington back.
but also, here's the thing:
Yeah.
James Cameron is the star of this.
Yes.
I agree.
And that
Yeah.
and as a young person, you saying that and avowing to that means a lot, Danny, because we've talked about superstar directors before, and some of them have waned in popularity. Their strength is not as powerful as it used to be. I still think people know James Cameron as the king of the world because
Yeah.
there's a ton of we're
Mhm.
not talking to a young woman right now, but if you talk to a young woman, they watch Titanic. They've seen Titanic. They know James Cameron. They know this guy. And
Right.
so I do think that he is the star of this, is the fact that this guy's coming back with a movie after so many years and people are excited for that. So those people don't matter. I think it's important to Avatar fans that those same characters or those same actors are in it. But for the general public, this is all about James Cameron.
Danny, what is the one thing, if you had to pick the thing that you're most excited about for Way of Water, what is the main thing you are excited about for seeing this movie? Obviously, it's a giant movie, so you are going to see this no matter what, because you see the big blockbusters. But what excites you most about Way of Water?
It's the fact how James Cameron been waiting to make this movie with like such an incredible achievement to underwatery scene.
Mhm.
And it was mostly that which would surprise a lot of people, including me. And the first we got to look in this movie, it's like, oh man, it's like people got to see this in the biggest screen possible or 3D, whatever you can go for. It's just overrated of a technical achievement in a good way, not a bad way. But
Yes. He
incredible.
waited 13 years because he knew that's how long it would take before he could achieve what he wanted to achieve. He wasn't about to put a half-assed Avatar out there. The way, not to downgrade superhero movies, but they'll put out a half-assed superhero movie so they can make their quota. James Cameron, he needed 13 years, so he took 13 years before he put this movie out. And I agree, the anticipation's only grown. Those people who went to see the first one 15 times and were crying because they didn't want to leave the experience, they wanted to live there. Those people, if they've lived long enough to be here and alive this weekend, they're going to see it opening weekend.
Yeah, that's the thing, Pat, is those people exist, and you know where they exist? They exist online in corners of the internet where nobody else goes because it's all Avatar talk, right?
Yes.
Like those are the people where it's like, well, why aren't they tweeting? It's because they're speaking Na'vi
Right.
on some message board
Right.
that is totally inscrutable for anybody who isn't a huge Avatar fan. So those
Right.
people will come. Those people
Yes.
are there and they will come.
Yes. Their Box Office Pro cannot figure them into the tracking because they're speaking Na'vi, and Box Office Pro can't understand their secret internet language, but they will be there. They will buy those tickets. So, I mean, I think it's time we just go for it and give our numbers of what we think Avatar Way of Water is going to do this weekend.
I have a little topic we should discuss
Okay.
for 1 second.
Sure,
real quick.
of course.
It's the budget, which increased to 350 to 400, which becomes one of the most expensive movies of all time.
Okay.
And reports are saying it has to be one of the biggest, highest grossing movies, like top 3, top 4 to break even, like $2 billion is what I know. So
Okay.
that's the question. Can this movie make even on a higher standards and
So
such anticipation?
So if it's a $400 million budget, it probably has to make $1 billion to break even. Usually it's
Marketing includes, yes.
right. So I mean, I think that's a slam doink. I mean, this movie, usually we stick with domestic, but worldwide, this is going to be a monster, and it's opening in China. So,
Yes.
which is very rare these days, a big difference from years ago.
That's going to help a lot.
And it's going to rack up, the movie business in China has changed. China makes its own blockbusters. They don't bring in nearly as many US movies, Hollywood movies, but Avatar, that will translate worldwide. This movie is going to rack up money all over the world. You don't have to speak English to love this movie. And I think Avatar is going to kill it around the world, and it's going to be a monster in the US. So
hell yeah.
Here's what I can say about profitability for Avatar: The Way of Water.
mhm.
You're not going to see a tweet from James Cameron that says he talked to his financiers and he waited to tweet this, that Avatar: The Way of Water is going to be profitable. That you're not going to see that. I mean, maybe as a joke. If he does it, it'll be hilarious.
Yes.
And we will love him even more than we already do.
Yes.
But
It would be a way to
He will not have to list cable airings. He will not have to list DVD sales. He will not have to list home rentals. That is not going to be part of the balance sheet for Avatar: The Way of Water's profitability. This movie is going to be profitable.
Yes. James Cameron is not going to have to leak misleading information to Deadline to try and get Avatar 3 made. Unlike some people, we've given this person enough airtime this week. We wouldn't even have to say who it is. But the wannabe boys, wannabe girls, wannabe people, they know who we're talking about. And James Cameron will not have to stoop so low as to tweet out, "Oh, my movie has just turned a profit."
Great episode, by the way, from last one. Great episode.
Thank you, Danny. Listen, we know we're doing important work here.
Yeah.
So no, I think this is going to turn a profit, and in a real way, not in a phony way.
It's possible for sure. That's possible. So.
Now, brass tacks, let's do it. We gotta give numbers. What do we think Avatar: The Way of Water is going to make in its opening weekend? Danny, you are our guest. Therefore, you're on the hot seat.
Yes,
what
I
do
am.
you think?
Okay, so way before then, I was really, really predicting it's going to beat over Endgame. But up to this day now, as of today, it's not possible. So what I can say, it will make more than Top Gun. It will not make above 200, to me at least. All I can say, I'm going to go for $155 million opening weekend, which will overpass Jurassic World to me and over 145. So I'd say 155 for myself right now.
Wow.
The safest.
You say under Wakanda Forever and under Doctor Strange.
As of right now, yes. As of right now. We will see.
Pat, do you think, I mean, you seem to be very bullish on this movie. Do you think it will be the top opening of 2022? Will it go over 187?
I think it will. I think this will be the biggest opening weekend of the year. I think it's going to get over 200. I think that is a hump we have not gotten over
for a while.
And the last movie we had that got over that 200 hump was Spider-Man: No Way Home, December last year. Basically, this weekend 1 year ago, Spider-Man: No Way Home with 3. And I know what you're going to say, Clayton. That movie had 3 Spider-Men, and I know that.
That's what got the whole people watching. And I literally made that mark.
I know that, but it was this weekend last year, December 17th, 2021. The 3 Spider-Men got to 260 million. And I know Avatar: Way of Water does not have 3 Spider-Men, but it is a movie that people have been waiting for 13 years. It was at one time the biggest movie of all time. So I think it's got to go over 200. It's not going to hit 260. I'm not predicting. that this is going to do what Spider-Man No Way Home did, but I think it's going to hit $214 million. That is my prediction opening weekend, Avatar Way of Water. I think the walk-ups this weekend are going to be out of effing control.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are, like I said previously, people that aren't being measured, and you don't see that a lot. I don't know. I'm going under 2. And I can't go as low as 161. I feel like that's really low. That's what Box Office Pro is saying. Now,
I can say this. As long as it makes more than the original, I think it's still a win. True or not true?
Well, I mean, you mean opening weekend. If it doesn't make
Yes.
over 70 million, then it's screwed. I mean, that is...
Yeah,
that would be
exactly.
terrible,
But it's possible.
absolutely.
I know that possible for sure. So as long as it goes over the original opening weekend, yes.
Now I'm going to read an email we got. Avatar Prediction is the title of it. It's from wannabe boy Jeremy, and he wanted to give his prediction. He said he actually saw the film Monday evening. While I'm a reviewer, I also write a weekly box office recap for a website, and for months I've been dreading making a prediction on this one. Who's to say what the reputation of the first film really is at this point? Will people come out in droves for the spectacle again? Will they just say to themselves, this has to be more of the same? And there was nothing memorable about this film besides the visuals. He sat there in the theater taking it in and thought how more and more we're event-driven box office at this point, and we've been all year. That being said, it feels like, wow, we've had Bafa Bobo this year. Opening weekends have come in the range of huge, but still kind of a letdown, and he sees that here. He's saying, no chance at 200. 178 is his call. And you know what? That feels pretty good to me. I'm going to go a little bit higher than wannabe boy Jeremy, and I'm going to say 181.
Wow. So you're basically saying it does Black Panther Wakanda Forever business.
Yes. I would love this movie to beat out Doctor Strange. I would love it.
Me too.
But I don't know if it'll do that. I mean, Pat, I think anything between what we've said and what you've said will be a triumph.
Oh, if this does get to 190 and beats Doctor Strange, that's going to be gigantic, because again, this movie is going to hold way better than any of those Marvel movies.
Absolutely.
And it's going to basically hold better than any big movie other than Top Gun Maverick. So
and I'll tell you what, I am seeing this movie, and I'll tell you 2 movies I didn't see. I didn't see Doctor Strange, and I didn't see Wakanda Forever. So therefore, there's a very good chance that there's more people like me. This movie could make more than both of those films.
Yeah, I listen, maybe it's wish casting, but I really do think this has got to make more than Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. You know, I'm not saying it's going to hit 3 Spider-Man numbers. I get 3 Spider-Man. I get all that. But I think this is going to be our first $200 million movie of the year. Because the people are out there. They didn't, Spider-Man No Way Home made $260 million a year ago on the same weekend. So the people exist to bring a movie up to those numbers. It could happen. And I think if it's going to happen, it's going to be with this movie.
And this is no judgment on Avatar fans, but I don't think they live the most daring of lifestyles. So it's not like they're dropping like flies in the last 13 years and they've been dying in motorcycle crashes or jumping off buildings, and things like that. Like, what is that? Not hang gliding, but what Queen Latifah did in the movie where she thought she was dying, base jumping, free jumping, whatever that is. I don't think a lot of them do that. So I do think there's a lot of those OG Avatar fans that are around.
Yeah, I agree.
What? Listen, fuck it. I'm gonna change it up right now.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it has to make more than Doctor Strange. I just need to believe it. I'm gonna say 190.
Okay.
I'm gonna go up to 190. I'm gonna do it.
Great.
Sounds
so
good.
then our predictions are, Danny, you said 155.
155.
Clayton is at 190, and I'm going
Yes.
all the way up to $214 million
Love
opening
it.
weekend.
Love it.
So, guys, let's go through, and I could start us off here because I'm looking at last weekend's top 10. Let's give our predictions for what the order of the top 5 is going to be. So I'll start with, obviously, the number one movie this weekend will be Avatar: The Way of Water.
Slam
Then
doink.
Slam Doink. It's a doink of the week. Number 2, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is going to be number 2. Number 3, I think Violent Night is still going to be is pretty solid this weekend. I mean, it'll take a big drop, but I think it'll still do pretty well. It'll definitely be number 3.
I know what's coming.
Number 4,
I know. It's
holding
coming.
steady at number 4 is going to be The Menu from Fox Searchlight. Anya Taylor-Joy and Ray Fiennes. They got a little boost from some of the award nominations this week. They both got Golden Globe nominations. I think for the literati, the filmerati who maybe don't see Avatar, this is going to be a movie that's going to have some appeal to them because of the award nominations. So I think Menu's number 4. And then falling to number 5 will be the big bomb of the year, Disney's Strange World will be number 5.
Bomber than Lightyear, unfortunately. Sorry.
Much bomber than Lightyear.
Who would want to visit the Strange World when you could visit Pandora?
Yeah.
What sicko is going to take their kid to see Strange World
Oh.
when they could show them a once-in-a-lifetime technical marvel?
Yep.
It's child abuse is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, Danny, why don't you go next? What do you see as the top 5 order for this coming weekend?
Slam Doink, The Way of Water, 155 in my prediction, but still
Yep.
Slam Doink, number 1. Number 2 is Wakanda Forever. Violent Night, number 3. 4 Menu, and Strange World, number 5. That's all I got
You're
right
going
now.
same as Pat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got right now, really. So
I mean, I would say the top 3 are all slam doinks, and then
Yes.
4 is where it could be switched up. So, Clayton, where do you see this top 5?
I mean, of course, first Avatar, slam doink, then Black Panther, slam doink, Violent Night, slam doink. Well, you know what? Just to be different, I'm going to say Strange World, then The Menu. I mean,
Wow.
the only
Okay.
thing to make it spicy, because The Whale is going wide. There's no way that gets
it goes
top
up.
5.
It goes wide next week, I believe. 21st.
Well, it's going wider, so it's going to be in 550 theaters, which may be as wide as it gets when these numbers come in. So I don't see that movie making the top 5, and Devotion's out of it. Yes, I think that's the case. I think I'm going to go Strange World over The Menu, but guess what? If it's the way you guys predicted it, I'll be happy too.
So, Danny, let's take this time now. Tell our listeners, tell the wannabe boys, wannabe girls, wannabe people, why they should tune in to your podcast. I Screen, You Scream, for number 4 movies. Obviously, the BO boys love it. This is, I think, one of the things I'm proudest of as a podcaster is inspiring a listener like you to start their own podcast. And I am so glad this exists, but tell our listeners why they should tune into your podcast.
If you want to tune in my podcast, it's the reason. It's because I have the pregame hype to The Way of Water. I have my guests, of course, where we're talking about Avatar, the hype, the James Cameron history, and some fun stuff going on. On top of that, I will have my review for it with the same guests from my pregame episode in the coming next week. And not only that, besides the Avatar episodes coming up, I have an upcoming another last movie of the year, which is going to be Puss in Boots, which you guys will be discussing next week. And on top of that, next week, it's not going to drop, but when I get the chance, I will record it immediately. But December 23rd marks my first year of my podcast, of my episode that I started it on I Screen, You Scream for Movies. And it should be dropping at a later date after the Puss in Boots review. It's going to be a stacked episode full of shout outs, plans going forward, what to change up, what to expect next year. It's going to be a huge lineup going forward. So I recommend you guys check out my podcast. you can find my podcast at any platform, but the three ones I really recommend, it's a major platforms, not only Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts as of right now. Other minor platforms are available as well. It's in my link tree that they will put on their episode notes. But the best you can do is to really check on Spotify, Apple, or Anchor. Either way you slice or dice it. I have a huge episodes coming up in the next following weeks. It's going to be crazy. You don't want to miss my anniversary podcast episode as well, besides The Way of Water. So
Nice.
that's all I got.
Congratulations, Danny, on 1 year. That is a huge achievement. And yeah, those are some big movies that you're going to be reviewing. Way of Water and Puss in Boots. I mean, speaking of long-awaited sequels, Puss in Boots is I mean, it that was a gigantic first movie. And I think this, I mean, we'll get into it, but I think people are sleeping on just how big Puss in Boots is going to be in a couple of weeks. So
huge for families.
Yep, very cool stuff. So listen to I Screen, You Scream, number 4 movies. All right, so Clayton, obviously, if you want to contact us, the best way is via email, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. We love reading your emails, your predictions, your boots on the ground reporting. And so email us at theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter. Wannabe intern Christopher is doing great stuff there, putting up all sorts of clips and videos, interacting with people. So that is on Twitter at theboboyspod on Twitter. We also have a YouTube channel. So we put all of our episodes up in full on the YouTube channel. We also have clips there. So you could see us, and those webcams are coming. So
Mine's
very
in the
soon.
mail. I ordered mine today. Pat is sleeping at the wheel.
I'm gonna hit that purchase button as soon as we get off the air here, and we are going to be in crisp, high definition, maybe high frame rate, maybe 3D. We'll see what these webcams could do. But subscribe to the YouTube channel. The link is in the show notes.
Smash that like button, right? Isn't that what
hit that sub? Hit that bell button. Doesn't take too long.
Yes, hit that bell button. And I mean, I think we did it, guys.
We definitely did it.
Yes.
I don't think there's anything left to say.
No.
Except until next time.
We'll smell you